What's up, everyone? The solo show is finally back after about a year or so break, and this time I'm for sure gonna be more consistent. I'm gonna be pushing out as much content as I can make. I'm gonna start doing about 4 podcasts a week, and then on Fridays we're gonna do a little information video just talking about politics and the conservative belief behind them, and then also the importance of Christianity in our society. So, June 1st was the beginning of LGBTQ plus month, which means that you have the left talking about how they are oppressed and how they're victims, and basically how Republicans are pushing legislation to, victimize, make them victims and oppress them. So today we're going to be taking a look at that legislation and see if it's oppressive or if it's just common sense and logical. And then we'll get into how a Utah school district banned the Bible due to sex and violence. Then lastly, we'll get into the 2024 presidential election and kind of give my opinion on who best fits for the Republican. So, AntiTrans Bills. Mark Takano, a congressman in California, tweeted out a few days ago that there are 556 anti-trans bills introduced in our country so far this year. You then have celebrities like Lizzo, Dwayne Wade, Taylor Swift, and countless others speaking about the exact same thing. That they feel like trans people are being targeted and threatened due to Republican legislation. So let's get into a few of these bills and kind of just see what they're talking about and basically decide on our own. So the Daily Beast, so they came out with the title, headline saying the cost of being trans in Florida just went up dramatically. The bill they're talking about in this news page is the bathroom bill, which requires public buildings, educational institutions, and detention buildings. Basically, all public funded buildings have separate restrooms, locker rooms, or changing facilities for men and women based on biological sex. And to the normal person, this is completely normal. This is something that we've been doing forever. But of course, the left is freaking out, and then I noticed that the Daily Beast said something in here that I really want to highlight. They say they don't truly acknowledge that transgender people exist. Then I realized that they finally got what we've been saying for so long. Of course, trans people do not exist because you cannot change your gender. It's simply somebody playing dress up, just as my 9-year-old sister did a few years ago. And then a few other bills. These are all going to be from Florida. Ron Desantis had an act called Let Kids Be Kids. And basically, this is something that the left hates. They hate that he's pushing out this legislation restricting transgenderism amongst kids. And so we're going to just get into it and go through the legislation. So first, it's going to be SB 254, or outlawing permanent mutilation of minors. And kind of just in the name, you already get what he is going to be outlawing. Basically, outlaw permanent mutilating surgical procedures and experimental puberty blockers for minors. Completely normal. I don't see anything oppressive or victimizing people above age. Requires adults receiving these surgeries and hormones to be informed about the irreversible nature and dangers. Again, completely normal. Grants Florida courts temporary emergency jurisdiction to intervene and halt procedures for out-of-state children. Still, again, perfectly normal. And then finally, creates a pathway to recover damages for injury or death resulting from mutilation surgeries or experimental puberty blockers given to a minor. Completely normal, nothing completely out of left field, infringing on anybody's rights, just again protecting the minors and those lifelong decisions that are going to harm them in the future. Then next would be Bill HB 1069, removing pronouns, politics, and expanding parental rights in education. Florida students and teachers will no longer have to declare their pronouns in school or be forced to use pronouns not based on biological sex. Expands parents' rights in education by prohibiting classroom instructions on sexual orientation and gender identity in pre-K through 8th grade, building on last year's bill that prohibited classrooms instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity in K through 3rd grade. Again, perfectly normal. Public schools are to teach your children, not to teach them about gender theory, not to teach them about how America is institutionally racist. It's to simply, teach the basic subjects. Then next, HB 1438, Protecting Children's Innocence. Protects children from sexually explicit adult performances in all venues, including drag shows and strip clubs. Imposes fines and license suspensions for hotels and restaurants that admit a child into an adult performance. How is this controversial? You've seen the videos of the drag queens, of the kids pitting dollar bills onto the drag queens' pants, shorts, whatever, and you see how explicit and how disgusting it is to show these kids these performances. It's not just, it's not just like it's not a PG event at all. And even if it was a PG event, drag shows, you can't be a drag queen's a very sexual oriented event. If you go back to see how it started, it's been very sexualized, and showing children this is obviously not right. Now, ensuring a woman's safety, and then this is the bill where the Daily Beast was reporting on. Requires educational institutions, detention faculties, correctional institutions, juvenile correction facilities, and public buildings with a restroom, locker, or changing facilities to have separate facilities for men and women based on biological sex. Again, completely normal, something that we've been doing for hundreds of years in America. Expanding access to youth sports. HB 225. Allow private school, virtual school, and homeschool students to participate in sports and extracurricular activities at public or private schools regardless of the zip code. Preserves the First Amendment right to speech, including public prayer at the beginning of high school sporting events. Imposes state control over the Florida High School Athletic Association to ensure women's sports are protected. So this one's basically just implying that, if you don't go to a traditional school, you're still able to participate in sports and other activities. And then also, I think it was last year, a high school coach was actually banned from praying at the beginning or the end of their football game. And that was a pretty big thing. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And that just preserves that right to be able to pray before the sporting events, which many people do that. And then, of course, not allowing biological men or regular men to compete in women's sports. So these anti-trans bills are really just logical and common sense things that we've been doing for so long that he's enacting into law. If you go through a bunch of them, none of them are trying to, oppress them, treat them any differently as long as they're above age. The government can't really do anything, and they're not trying to do anything once you become of age. They're really trying to protect the innocence of children and the children that are being groomed to, transition and not be able to overturn those lifelong effects. So next, banning the Bible. So a school district in Utah bans the Bible after a large amount of complaints from parents saying that the content contains incest, onionism, bestiality, prostitution, genital mutilation, dildos, rape, and even infanticide. These complaints were quickly filed after the book ban that went in place in 2022, banning the books like Blue Eyes and Genderqueer. From the reports, it honestly seems like retaliation from a lot of these parents after their LGBTQ books were being banned. But the thing is, although that the Bible does contain this type of content, the difference is the Bible is talking about how it's a bad thing, while these other books are kind of spinning it into a good thing and how you should be express your sexuality more, transition, and then get into these all like weird sex things. And then for one of the books, Genderqueer, that book actually has sexual acts illustrated in the book. It takes about how this person has transitioned, how to come out to your family, and then having actual I believe it's gay sex. So you have to point out the obvious and call it how it is. Transitioning is not normal and is something that we should not celebrate. And these books are kind of incentivizing, this is okay. This is something that is normalized in our community. And if you feel this way, you should go ahead and pursue it rather than something like the Bible says, there's only man, there's only woman, and it kind of tells you like, hey, look, this rape's bad, this prostitution's bad. Like, it's saying these things are bad and telling you, giving you a moral compass of what is right and what is wrong. So finally, the 2024 presidential race. So the person who I think should be the next president, and some people that know me might have guessed it, Ron Desantis. If you don't know who Ron Desantis is, he's basically the governor I talked about during the AntiTrans Bills, and he's the governor of Florida. This is his second term. He's doing really great over there. During COVID, he let his state stay open and running. He's the face of fighting wokeness, fighting Disney, kind of fighting all the woke corporations that want to bend to the left. I mean, quite honestly, he is the face of the Republican Party. I feel like he's passed the most legislation to help us. He's done the most for the Republican Party in the past 4 years now. I really think that he is the front runner, and a lot of Americans agree with me. I know that the current front runner is Donald Trump, and again, he is a great leader. I love the guy, but he just talks. I was watching the CNN 2020 or the CNN town hall, and basically he was just going on and on about the 2020 election and living in the past. When he ran in 2016, he was running for the people. It felt like that was somebody that was giving us a voice and really doing what we needed. And then now it seems more of like a personal vendetta where he needs to, kind of get back and pursue what he missed out in 2022 or 2020. So do not get me wrong, he did a lot during his last presidency, and he has done so much. But I think Ron DeSantis is in his prime right now. I think this is the golden part. And if he's elected president, he's gonna turn America Florida, and it's gonna be run great for us. So that's all I have for today. We'll go ahead and have another episode tomorrow. It's gonna be a little bit more organized, and these podcasts are gonna continually get better as I can do it consistently. So this one was pretty rough, but we're gonna go ahead and post it, kind of dive right into it. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.